Hello everyone, it's Catherine here from Minky Finger Cat. I've got a scrapbook process video for you. I actually did this over a series of a couple of weeks in, I think it was 3 different crafty sessions. So the first part I started it and then I left it for a few weeks and then came back, did a little bit more and then came back again and finished off finally. So first of all, you might notice, go through some wardrobe changes, but also you might notice things like the lighting changes, etc. But you know, so this is a little kit of papers that I curated myself from my scrap. I'm saying scrap, no, from my stash. So it wasn't scraps, and I decided on a bit of a torn strip going down towards the left hand side, and then I'm just using random bits and pieces of paper, but very sort of torn edges. So the picture itself is a picture of me, the hubby, daughter and my parents, and we were out at the Trafford Centre for a meal, and it was actually on Vin's birthday. We had been, the three of us had first of all gone over to Kingpins and done bowling and curling and played pool and done all sorts of different bits and pieces. So we've been doing that for the morning, and then my mum and dad joined us at the Trafford Centre and we had lunch in Bill's. So this was just a quick family selfie. So you can see that I'm grabbing various little scraps and bits and pieces. I probably don't end up using most of those, if I'm honest, because this is where I kind of get a bit distracted and go off and do some fussy cutting. So I have these Paper Mania papers that I've got loads of these sort of like vintagey, rusticy frames and stuff, and I went off and did a whole load of fussy cutting. So this is still, oh no, that's the end of session number 1. End of session number 1 is I went off and did some fussy cutting and then left it, put to one side, didn't end up doing anything with it. So now I'm starting to stick things down. So this is session number 2. As you can see there, I've sort of already started to go no and discard some bits and pieces of papers, and also some of these fussy cut bits I decided I didn't end up using, which is that wonderful and that my that I'd fussy cut. So they'll stay on the desk and I'll probably use them at another layout at some point, or in some piece of art somewhere along the lines. I'm not quite sure. They might end up going into the bits and bobs box. But those little frames and stuff that I've cut, fussy cut out, I am using, and the little banners and things, so I'm just finding different ways to adhere them, different places on the panel, and they become kind of the starting points of some clusters. And at this point I decide, right, I'm going to incorporate some sewing. So even though the theme of the day was a little bit of a masculine day because it was all about Vin, I've got quite a lot of bright colour. My hair, which is very rainbow coloured at this point, but also I've got a bright coloured scarf on. There's quite a lot of colour going on in the background, so I decided it was absolutely fine to have this pink flowery paper, even though it's a layout about Vin's birthday. I just thought it worked, and when it was balanced against all of those browns and the sort of the rusticy colours and that sort of ledger paper that's the background, I just thought it worked. So at this point I am punching holes, and I've punched holes for some circles, and then I've also punched some holes for the top and the bottom of the page, a couple of lines, so I can do some sort of like running stitch type sewing on these. And I don't do the sewing on screen. I do the first little bit, but then I again take it off to the sofa, and that becomes the end of session number 2 for the crafting. But yeah, I chose this sort of like tan coloured thread. I think that's the best description I can use for it. It's tan coloured, and I go with 3 strands, and then I just basically start sewing. So I sew all of the circles and those lines that go across the top and the bottom of those strips going down. I actually filmed more of this than I thought I did, so there you go. Right, that's where I've got bored. And now we're on to crafting session number 3, which is probably about a week after I'd done the sewing. And I've decided to dig out some of the dies that I've already cut, the die cut shapes that I've already cut, and I go for these leaves, and I'm using the crumb cake and the early espresso, I think, are the colours that I chose. So basically brown themes. So again, even though I've chosen that pink coloured paper as sort of like the main pop of colour, with that teal that's behind the photograph and then all of these browns, it doesn't become an overly girly coloured page, which means it works for the theme as well as the colours in the pictures. So now I'm going through my Lollipop Box Club kits. So I'm pulling out bits and pieces of the sort of the die cut ephemera that's in that kit, or those kits that I've collated together, and just basically sticking bits and pieces down that I think will go with the colour scheme or the theme of the page. So some of them are a bit pink and some of them are a bit orange, and I just think it works. Sometimes pulling in these random colours works. So I'm sticking these down. I'll then go to the actual stickers, and you'll see the way that I do this is I pull them out of the little pouches that I've got them in and stick them on a piece of white scrap paper, and it's easy to just sort of like sift through them rather than trying to sift through them in my hand. So these are the stickers. I only end up with a couple of stickers that work for this page. I thought that there would be more that said like family or something like that, but I've obviously used them all. Found another little heart, and then I went off and started pulling out the letters, and I decided to go with the brown letters. And I actually had all the letters in one kit, so unusual for me to have had almost the full lot of letters available, but I could actually spell out Vin's birthday meal with all of the same letters, which I was really happy about. The other week I went through and sorted out all of my letters and put them into coloured pouches so that they were all together if they were brown, all together if they're pink, etc. And that was really helpful because it meant it was just dead easy to go and grab that pouch of brown and add them. So just added in my journaling, and I decided to just keep it really simple, just a little description of what was going on. And at this point I decided I just wanted to add a little bit more, and so I'm adding some brads through sort of the holes on those frames, just those two big ones, just to add a little bit of an extra texture, but also to feel like those frames got finished off, and a little bit more realistic. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed what I've done here. Please do give me a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more. Plenty more videos to come, I'm sure of that, both scrapping and card making. And until next time, goodbye.